Let me introduce Katy Grimes. Katy Grimes is a longtime political journalist, analyst, and writer. You've seen her work in the Orange County Register, Fox and Hounds, Human Events, and many other publications. She's currently a senior correspondent for The Flash Report, which I know you all read. She's covering the California legislature and agency politics from Sacramento. Her new book, co-authored with James Lacey, is titled California's War Against Donald Trump, Who Wins, Who Loses. It will be published Labor Day weekend. Please welcome Katy Grimes.
I'm wearing very high heels. I'm not normally this tall. So thank you. It's so wonderful to be here and be included in this, this very, very special day. As you know, many of you know, I write for The Flash Report, among numerous other conservative outlets. And I'm going to kind of drill down today a little bit more on the business killing regulations. It's something that Jim Lacey and I covered extensively in our book, which will be out Labor Day weekend, by the way. But specifically, I'd like to address California's conflation of the state's decades-long clean air policy, also known as air pollution, with carbon emissions and greenhouse gases. Now, before your eyes roll back in your head, I promise this will be interesting. This follows in the footsteps of the Obama administration and EPA policies, which also conflated global warming and the war against carbon with pollution rules. They're two very, very different things. The left never discusses this honestly, nor have they ever acknowledged how successfully California has fought for and actually achieved clean air. Yet even as the number 2 state in the country for the cleanest air behind Hawaii, which has those fabulous trade winds, we're regulated more than any other state in the country on air quality. Essentially, we are now taxed on the air we breathe in this clean state. So our book, California's War Against Donald Trump, we compare what the Donald Trump administration policies are and what's actually happening here in California. One example, President Trump wants less regulation. California's leaders want even more regulation. In his first week in office, President Trump issued an executive order to streamline and expedite environmental reviews and approvals for high-priority infrastructure projects. We're not doing that. Trump promised to reduce federal regulations on coal mining and use and signed an executive order to roll back the Obama administration's Clean Power Plan, which, remember, the U.S. Chamber of Commerce said would put 224,000 Americans out of work annually and cost $51 billion in gross domestic product use, slowing economic growth and hurting the middle class even further. It's a great plan. Trump's philosophy, and the reason I'm telling you all this, is the use of cost-benefit analysis in the promulgation of rules that affect the economy, something completely foreign to California Democrats. And this is how it works. When a regulation is considered and before it's adopted, not only are the benefits to society considered, but they are also balanced against the cost to society of the new rule or regulation. When the costs to society outweigh the benefits, the rule should be rejected. This isn't done by California's Democrat leaders, whose idea of regulatory power, and I stress power, is perhaps exemplified best by their own war on carbon, no matter the cost to society. So in his fiery State of the State address just after President Trump's inauguration, Governor Jerry Brown pushed back hard, really hard, on the expected new federal policies on immigration, healthcare, and especially climate change. And I'm going to quote you directly from his State of the State address. And I'm not going to do my best Jerry Brown impression. I would sound like Weird Uncle Fester if I did. This is his quote: "Whatever they do in Washington, they can't change the facts. And these are the facts. The climate is changing, the temperatures are rising, and so are the oceans. Natural habitats everywhere are under increasing stress. The world knows this, end quote. That's our governor. But perhaps all the facts aren't really that well understood by California's leaders, and especially our governor. News reports persist that cities like Los Angeles continue to lead the nation in ozone pollution that some scientists say contributes to climate change. Yet, more penetrating research suggests that federal and state anti-smog regulations have made great progress to date and have significantly reduced pollution in the state, and particularly in the Los Angeles basin, calling into question the value to society of even further job-killing regulations. Southern California's children have, and this is a quote, significantly fewer respiratory symptoms as a result of improved air quality over the last 20 years, according to the landmark USC Children's Health Study. And air quality in the state has improved 75 to 90% over the last 40 years. Yet despite this wonderful news of this consistent and long-term progress on emission reduction, we Californians are continually fearful of politicians' claims regarding the need for even more regulation, regardless of the cost to society, and especially in California regarding climate change and carbon emission. This politicization of science has conflated political agendas with science and, according to the Cato Institute, is destroying the credibility of academia. It's also incomplete science. This is something that Jim and I cover heavily in the book, because they're cherry-picking science. They're ignoring economic science and focusing only on biological science. Despite increasing reductions in environmental pollution as new, more high-tech, cleaner automobiles and trucks replace older ones in the state, California's vehicle emission regulations are scheduled to become increasingly much stricter, especially from year 2022 to 2025, and this was done through new rules the Obama administration hastily approved before Trump took office. And what did our California Air Resources Board do? They doubled down on it and said, we will not back down. This forces the auto industry to manufacture one set of vehicles for the rest of the nation and a set of vehicles just for California because of our strict rules. And this dramatically increases our costs. Another bizarre but now mainstream way of liberal government thinking is the Bay Area Air Quality Management District up in my neck of the woods. I'm in Sacramento. This is the Bay Area. Its climate change justified plan includes the imposition of 85 new regulatory measures on businesses and individuals to attack global warming, to further reduce emissions that have already been greatly reduced over the last 20 years. The Bay Area Air Quality Management District is proposing charging high tolls to drive on freeways to discourage driving. This is in their plan. Doing away with gas heat, and even telling people no meat in your diet. The San Francisco agency is reaching beyond its usual targets of oil refineries and diesel trucks, claiming that this has to be an all-in approach. Everything's on the table. And they claim, and again, this is their quote, you need to hear their words, reducing air pollution and greenhouse gases is everyone's responsibility. How we live and travel, what we buy, how we heat our homes, and what we consume all impact air quality, our health, and produce greenhouse gases that impact our planet and ultimately our quality of life. These are the people that are making the regulations we're paying for. What they don't get or don't care about is that their overarching regulations are impacting our quality of life with no regard for the end results, economic or biological. And if that's not enough, this agency said it will use its unilateral authority to beef up emissions rules for oil refineries, landfills, dairies, there's that meat, and water treatment plants, increasing the cost to us. As for dairies, Somebody covered this earlier. California's liberal officials across the state have been particularly concerned about imposing new regulations on bovine enteric fermentation, also known as cow farts. But Jerry Brown signed it into law. And this is against the wishes of the dairy industry, obviously. And what it's really going to do is not only drive up the cost of milk, but that's going to hurt the poorest Californians who rely on milk protein more for their families than the rest of us do. So if anybody's interested in the 85 new regulations San Francisco's passing, talk to me later. There is plenty we can still do to fight it. What's interesting about this recommendation to stop eating meat is Carnegie Mellon University researchers published a paper which found that diets which frankly exclude meat and include more fruits and veggies and vegan diet would increase water use by 38% and greenhouse gases by 6%. So go figure. Lastly, I will jump ahead to my end here, I apologize. California does not lead the nation on fixing climate change. We're only the leader in excessive government regulations. Ironically, we're about 34th in the country. So it's not working, we're just paying a lot more for it. And I'm hoping that one of my other panel members will discuss the economics of all this. Thanks very much.